And just to reiterate, I just hope that the Democrats will stop the grandstanding and really, work on the bipartisan oversight committee and making sure that these things are dealt with. I think it's a disservice to all of the victims to not work and to pretend that this is somehow bad, but focus on it and make sure. I'm asking the Democrats, make sure that it's bipartisan. Make sure that you're doing what needs to be done, the disclosure's done and the investigation is done. Because this isn't something that should be about political points. This is about something that we should investigate. And so with that, I just hope that they would come with us and help with the Oversight Committee investigation.
Thank you.
With that, I yield back.
Thank you.
Ms. Scanlon, you're recognized.
And I would yield to Mr. McGovern for a minute.
I'm sorry there's so much confusion on the Republican side of the aisle. I don't understand why we're just not all demanding that the administration release all the files. And we could do that if we were able to vote on the Massey counter resolution. But apparently we can't do that. And forgive me if I'm just a little bit suspicious about all that's going on here, because I've been on this committee all year with all of you, and I have watched as we have weaved and dodged and avoided bringing anything to the floor dealing with this. And I've also, we began our August recess early because none of you wanted to take a vote and hold this administration accountable, and you ran out of town. So again, want to do something bipartisan? Maybe we all can join on a bipartisan appeal to this administration to find out why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a cushy facility after she exonerated Donald Trump. So I'm sorry. I mean, we've lived through the last several weeks as Republicans have tried to avoid dealing with this issue. And so I hope, and I trust that there's bipartisan cooperation on the Oversight Committee, and I want that investigation to move forward. But for the life of me, I do not understand why the administration, after promising to release all the files, has chosen not to. So that's what I'm confused about. I thank the gentlelady for yielding.
Thank you. Mr. Comer, I think in your introduction, just for folks who are trying to play catch up here, because there's a lot of details and a lot of names being thrown around, you said that one of the issues here is that the U.S. attorney who initially handled Mr. Epstein's case gave him a sweetheart deal. That's right, isn't it?
Was the initial U.S. attorney was who?
Well, you didn't name him, but it was Alex Acosta, right?
I don't know if he was the initial, but he was one of them. Yeah, he gave him,
So he was the U.S. attorney appointed by George Bush in Florida, whatever district, and he's the one that gave the deal to Epstein, where he served a couple months, but basically got out on release every day, despite all the horrific crimes that we now know occurred. Okay, and in his later career, he became Secretary of Labor in the first Trump administration, right? And he had to leave after reporting disclosed this sweetheart deal. Is that right?
I don't know what caused him to leave, but
it was about that time.
Okay.
So, Mr. Garcia, I know we've heard that you've received some materials. Are there redactions in those materials?
There are appropriate redactions. We will be able to review the full materials. There'll be some opportunity to review the materials without some redactions from the committee staff and committee members that don't put any of the victims in harm's way. But there are some, again, the reality about the materials, though, is there's nothing really with a small amount, a couple thousand pages of new information. I mean, all the information was first given to right-wing influencers back in February, and then has been released to the public, whether it's been through the media or other ways. And so we can get the full files today. We know the DOJ has them. They're not answering our questions. We're asking when are we getting the rest of the files. We get no response. And to clarify one thing, Ms. Scanlon, I think it was said earlier by another member of the committee that we're somehow opposing this resolution, or we're not opposing anything. We want full disclosure. If the majority wants to put together a resolution to add to more disclosure, that's fine. But that resolution should in no way supplant the discharge petition or serve as some kind of distraction to not get the full Congress on record to release all the files.
Okay. I mean, I guess I was asking about the redactions because there's been reporting that under Attorney General Bondi, hundreds of FBI and DOJ man-hours have been dedicated to redacting all references to the president. So is there anything to indicate that the materials you've received thus far contain some of those redactions?
So we believe that the materials that we've received so far there are redactions in there. We are reviewing some of those redactions currently. The team still is, but we believe that again that a vast majority of those documents are actually not presenting any new information, and we do believe there are important and critical documents that we have not yet received from the DOJ that contain important information to this investigation, and we have yet to see those.
Do you have explanations for the redactions that you have seen thus far? Have those been provided by DOJ?
We do have some explanation of some of the redactions, but there are no documents in what we have been presented that are of concern as it relates to redactions.
I'm just concerned because that is one of the pieces of the Massey underlying legislation, which is that to the extent the DOJ turned over any materials, it would have to explain any redactions or claims of privilege or whatever.
But that's important, certainly in future documents. So
Yes.
as more documents come forward, ensuring that that is a piece of it is going to be important.
And I guess going back to this issue of Ghislaine Maxwell getting this cushy assignment, my understanding is that when she was moved to this new facility, that was against Bureau of Prison regulations, and someone higher up from the White House or the Attorney General's office would have had to excuse that normal Bureau of Prison rule.
That is
right?
correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to add?
Just that I think that Republicans should join Democrats on the Oversight Committee and others in demanding answers as to why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved and who gave the orders to move Ghislaine Maxwell. We still don't know that answer.
I think that's an important part as well, and pleased to have been able to sign the discharge petition before we came up for this hearing, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scanlon. Mr. Norman, you're right.
अब ट्रेड के लिए दोस्तों से उधार मांगने की जरूरत नहीं है। IND मनी में 1000 रुपए से भी 5000
I think what's interesting about this hearing, Mr. Governor, you've been kind of very critical of everything that's been going on here and about you need answers, and some of it we do need answers on. But the biggest, and you said things were outrageous and whatnot, you're confused. What I'm confused about, you were elected to Congress in 1997, 28 years. You were chairman of this committee, the Rules Committee, from 2019 to 23. Now, if this is all of a sudden so important, when you as chairman, you had every right to bring up everything we're talking about now. What did we hear from you? Crickets. So that's the big confusion I have. And Representative Comer, the thing about political grandstanding, that's all this is.
Well, I didn't
and I
write
don't
presidential campaign
hold on,
saying it was a
I'm not
release to
talking.
Epstein files.
If I've got the floor, I recognize you, but we're not going to talk over each other. Have some decency. This is an anti-Trump. You're asking all these questions, who released Ghislaine Maxwell? When you had the opportunity, you didn't say one word. This is anti-Trump, and it's coming out for that. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. How many victims were interviewed today?
6.
And you think it's hundreds?
They said it was hundreds, like close to 1,000, but hundreds. It's what the attorneys for the victim. The attorneys were represented by 4. The victims were represented by 4 attorneys, and they said as many as 1,000.
Well, the process is moving forward. Right. We all know the discharge petition. I don't mind having 2 tracks, but the bottom line is, Mr. Governor knows it has to go to the Senate. I don't know what they'll do with it, but it's going to take time. You're not waiting on anything.
No.
You're moving forward.
We're moving forward.
And like Chairman Fox said, everything's going to get released. Now, let me ask you this. Are the flight logs public information? Who flew on the planes?
Okay. Some are, but the estate subpoena should cover more of that.
We all know anybody that's, how far back with the flight logs? You can alter a flight log. If you're flying on a plane, you can't.
Back to 1990.
Okay, 1990. We know people that were on that flight weren't going over there to have Bible studies.
Right.
They were doing other things. So we'll see, is your opinion, all the flight logs of whoever went, doesn't matter. That will be released.
Yeah. I mean, I want to know. I think everybody wants to know.
You hit it on the head, James. I mean, people want to know the names.
Yeah.
If a crime has been committed against thousands of women, young girls, this transcends politics. That's why I don't understand. The fact that you're politicizing this is not right. This transcends. This is young girls getting abused. So the fact that the flight logs will be released, we'll know the names of who flew over there. And then the public, I think that's the big name. If crimes have been committed, who did it?
Right.
And then let them face a trial. Let
Absolutely.
them face a jury of peers. Now, I think Ms. Scanlon said the redactions by Attorney General Bondi contained things with President Trump. Now, what did you say, Representative Garcia? That was not right. Correct?
I think, well, first, to be clear, I think the Attorney General herself has said that President Trump is in the Epstein files, to be clear. That's been reported. And as far as what redactions include the president, we don't have the files yet to know what those redactions actually are.
But when you get the files, both of you will ask the question, why were they redacted? Who did it? And as far as who put Ms. Maxwell in another prison, I assume that will come forward.
Well, and to be clear, our request has been to redact the names of the victims. There shouldn't be circumstances, nor would we support redacting the names of the perpetrators or anyone that actually committed the harm. And so that would not be our expectation. And so we think the full release of the files is important to check that work, of course.
Okay. So so it's not, nothing with President Trump has been redacted to your knowledge of what's been released so far.
If anything with President Trump's name has been redacted, it has not been, it's not something that's been in anything, it's not any new information. Okay. So that has not been presented to the public.
So this just further illustrates this is just a hatred of a president who has got support of 77 million people.
I mean, sir, it's the president that actually campaigned on releasing the full files when he was running. I mean, he had made this the central issue of one of the central issues of his campaign.
Aside from that, though, you had 4 years under the Biden administration. He was chairman of a committee. He could have brought it up day one. He didn't do it. So if all of a sudden the interest, to be honest, I'm glad it's coming out now. There's been a lot transpired with Ghislaine Maxwell, the death of, I don't know, when did Epstein die?
2019, August.
2019. Okay, so a lot's happened over the 20 years of this. Well, thank you for what you're doing. I think that the public needs to know, as they do on most everything. There are a lot of questions of the government involvement in the shooting of President Trump. I mean, that's going to come out at some point, not only Butler, Pennsylvania, but the golf course. So is there anything you want to add to what Mr. Garcia or any?
No, I just think that, the subpoena covers everything. I mean, if there are flight logs with the estate, that'll fall under the subpoena. If there are questions about why Maxwell was moved from Florida to Texas, that'll fall under the DOJ subpoena. So we are moving forward, and the Department of Justice has been working with us to turn over those documents. It takes a long time to gather and transfer 34,000 pages, and we're hopeful there's more, and we'll look at that and then post it online as quick as we can.
Okay.
Mr. Norman, would you yield for a minute?
Pardon me?
Would you yield for a minute?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'll yield.
Sure. I just wanted to seek unanimous consent to put in the Newsweek article from August 1st of this year, so just last month, in which it talks about the fact that Trump's name was in the Jeffrey Epstein files and that 1,000 FBI agents were redacting those files to remove his name and others. So it's an August 1st, 2025 Newsweek report. It was also in Bloomberg and several other things, but I know we were on break, so you might have missed it.
Without objection.
So what she just said, y'all will be able to get into that, won't you? So you'll be able to answer every question. Now, Mr. McGovern, in fairness to you, you want to answer why, when you were chairman of this committee, you didn't bring up anything about Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, I mean, one is I didn't campaign that I was going to release the Epstein files.
No.
Donald Trump made it into a big issue, and then we all expected it was going to be released, and then he decided at the last minute to change his mind, called people, said it was a big hoax, said Republicans were stupid for going along with it. And so those are his words. And by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell just got transferred like a month ago. So I wasn't chairman then of the committee.
No. Of 2019 to 2023, you were chairman.
I would have. Yeah, I mean, if people had brought to my attention that there was something there, I would have demanded that they be released.
The victims, no.
Well, I mean, if the victims came to us,
that didn't
we
hold
would've-
water.
Yeah, but the victims want the files released, and Republicans have been frustrating that effort for months and months and months. And you even adjourned early to avoid having to vote on it.
That is not
so
true.
I want the truth out there. I want the files out there.
Taking my time back. I'm reclaiming my time. The fact is, if you had all the interest that you do now, it's just because of Donald Trump. You had 4 years to do it as chairman of this committee. You've been in Congress 28 years. You and I both know the victims. This has been out that young girls have been victimized for the last 15 years, and you did nothing, which it shows you the hatred they have, and everything's political up here, particularly when it comes to Donald Trump. But the American people don't agree with it.
ट्रेडिंग का पुराना विवोड कब होगा?
Hello, Chairwoman. We are back, aren't we? And we're back on Epstein, which is where we were before, indeed, Johnson shut down Congress early so we would not have to vote on a motion to put on the floor of the House the Massey Hanna resolution to force the release of the Epstein files to the public, to pass a bill that would make it law that all of the files would have to be released. And there is no reason why we cannot still have that be a rule. And we can do both. But Republicans, and Trump especially, seem terrified of those files and seem willing to do all kinds of things to avoid a vote on that bill.
I know.
Now, I want to go into some other things, but I'm going to yield some time to my ranking member.
No, I would just want to respond to Mr. Norman. I knew there was some there when this administration was trying to hide everything. And that's, quite frankly, what has a lot of us concerned about what we're not doing here today, and that is not voting on the Massey counter bill. And my understanding is that there's some reporting out now, we're hearing, that the White House is calling Republican members, asking them not to sign onto the discharge petition. And I don't even know what the hell happened to your resolution that you brought up before we kind of abruptly left early for our August recess. But this doesn't smell right. I think we need to get to the bottom of this, and that means that all the files have to be released. I yield back, I think, the gentlelady.
Thank you, Ranking Member. And, I am chair of the Democratic Women's Caucus, and we are always concerned about the fact that in this country, women and children and girls are attacked, they are abused, they are raped, they are trafficked. And they are done so by men like Epstein and by women like Maxwell. And I think that it is an outrage, as you pointed out, Ranking Member Garcia, that she has now been treated favorably by the Trump administration after saying some things they liked. And what we haven't heard from you, Chair Comer, is a commitment not to say, well, it's going to be in the subpoenas, but to have a hearing on why. Will you commit to having a hearing to determine why she was moved to a more favorable conditions after that interview?
We'll have a hearing to determine the crimes that were committed the hearing's going to be geared towards seeking justice for the victims, not scoring political points
This is
like
not
you
a
all
political
want.
point.
We're
The
concerned
victims-
about the victims and their request that someone finally be held accountable. Because they weren't during the Biden administration, they weren't during the Obama administration.
I'm going to take.
They weren't during the Clinton
Chairman Comer,
administration.
The question was whether you would hold a hearing as
We'll
to
have
why
a
she
hearing.
was transferred.
You-
Why she was transferred after that.
We'll have a
and-
hearing, and if
so
someone
the
wants to
answer is
ask
no.
that
So
question,
the
they can
answer is
ask
no.
it. You can ask
The
any
answer is no.
question. We'll have a hearing.
But it wasn't a hearing on what the question was. And Ranking,
You want to have a whole hearing, a whole entire hearing, not about the victims, not about a government cover-up, not about human trafficking, but about Maxwell, who you all were like begging to be deposed, and I did the subpoena. Now you want to, now you're mad because she exonerated Trump. We brought in Bill Barr, who is I don't think it's any secret that he and Trump aren't best of friends,
I'm going to reclaim my time.
That's
Reclaim the
fine.
time. The question wasn't about shouldn't we do all these things, but this is something very specific that indeed, as I understand, the victims raised today, they're outraged that this has happened, and it is indeed a re-traumatization when somebody who has done such horrible things is then treated favorably under these conditions. And I think that's where it's at. And I really want to thank you, Ranking Member Garcia, because you focused in your opening remarks about the horrors of what you heard today and of why it is so important for the survivors that they get justice. And it needs to come in many forms. And I think the fact that Trump doesn't want us to vote on this bill tells you a lot, right? And why are Democrats worried? We are worried because Trump keeps distracting and lying about things, right? Anytime he doesn't like something, he distracts and he lies. He claims inflation is down, but America's working families who are paying more for energy and groceries know the truth. Our small businesses are closing because of those tariffs. Trump didn't like the fact that Americans are losing jobs, so he fired the person who gathers the data. And with the Epstein files, he's terrified of what's in those files, and he knows his name will keep coming up again and again. And it is tied to the fact that Trump himself, Representative Garcia, you know that he's been accused of sexual misconduct at least 28 times. He's found liable by a jury of his peers for sexual abuse and defamation. So we're not going to be surprised when we find out that his name has been in his files, and we want to see what they are. Is that correct?
I think we want to know what Attorney General Bondi told the president as it relates to his name being in the files, and has been widely reported. And I think the American public they have a right to know.
And I think that Americans are worried about trusting Republicans on this because now Chairman Comer is saying we're doing all these things. Had they done anything at all before Democrats forced the vote on the subpoena? Had oversight done anything on
Well,
this?
I think that's a good reminder. I mean, the vote was a forced vote by a subcommittee of Democrats on oversight, where we got not all, but some Republicans to join all Democrats to subpoena the Epstein files. And had Democrats not taken that action, we'd have no subpoena, and we'd still be much further back in this investigation.
Right. And there were 2 Democrats who voted against that subpoena. Is that correct?
All Democrats.
I mean, sorry, 2 Republicans. All Democrats. Democrats forced the vote. Oversight had not done anything with regards to this until Democrats forced the vote. And then you had 2 Republicans vote against it nevertheless. Is that correct?
Including the subcommittee chairman, I believe.
Including the subcommittee chairman. So leaders in the committee voted against the subpoenas. Now, they're taking, and so this is why Americans might be worried about whether they're going to be forthcoming. Now, Chairman Comer, this resolution would give you, and only you, the power to decide what information in these documents is redacted or withheld. Is that correct?
Well, the you know, we're trying to do this in a bipartisan manner. Our staffs are communicating. I think, I hope Mr. Garcia would agree. I think our staffs, he's new to the job, and I think our staffs are working together really well, and hopefully we'll continue to work well. Like I said, I want this to be bipartisan. I don't want members of the committee, and members of the committee haven't been making the accusations that members of the Rules Committee have been making, that, you know, this isn't bipartisan. We want this to be a bipartisan investigation. We want to get the truth, and hopefully we'll do that. And you know, you're trying to, I feel like, create a